Artur, what are your thoughts a few days out, despite 3 days away, or 2 days away? What were your thoughts on the fight?
I'm ready. I'm ready for fight. That's it. I don't think much more about. It's mean I think, but I have some instructions, and I try to follow them, and I try to do my best. Friday night.
Mark, in your view, what's the key to win this fight? What's the foundation of you think of attacking the nail?
Guarantees stuff. I'm not going to expose my tactic for Friday night today, but the thing is, when you're going to a big fight like this, the most important is to make sure that you're not surprised by anything. This is what we prepare in the gym, technically, tactically, all aspect of boxing, like speed, power, everything, and we're going to bring everything to the table Friday.
You think it's obvious though they are going to try to box? You think that'll be their game plan?
But as a trainer, you can do that kind of mistake sometimes. That you think about only one option they can do, and if you have a little surprise, you have a surprise at the end of the fight. And the second thing is we are a lot more focused about what he can bring to that ring, that's what the other guys can do or not. And we are sure on our side, like we have a more complete guy.
Obviously, the winner of this fight will have 2 of the 4 alphabet titles. Is that in and of itself enough, for that person to say that I am the one true king of the light heavyweights, or is more work that still needs to be done? Everybody talks about full unification, but it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, but in her team, like the philosophy of we're gonna maybe pretend to be the king of the division when we're gonna have the 4th title. Right now, it's just one step for us for this team. I think I should partage my.
I agree.
Was there any difficulty from your perspective in negotiation or accepting this fight?
At all. Actually, we ask our management group to try to see if we can do those kind of fight right away. This is what Artur wants. This is what I want as a trainer, and everybody pushing in the same direction. I don't know what happened behind the scene, but I know that was not very difficult. Like they came back with that fight on the table, and we say yes from the first day.
Artur, is there anything you remember from your amateur fight with Gvozdyk? Anything that stands out to you?
I remember this fight. It was I think 2 rounds only, and but I don't know yet. I don't know that time. I heard Gvozdyk said I broke his nose. I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, but I know it. It's only 2 rounds.
Do you think he's changed at all as a fighter?
I think so. I'm changed. He changed. Everybody changed.
Mm-hmm.
Just face change.
A little more hair.
Yeah, little more hair.
A 3-month training camp, that's a pretty long camp, a month in Russia and then 2 months in Canada. Is that typical for you, or was it just a little bit longer so that you can keep your conditioning and everything on point?
When I went to Russia, it's, I went to Russia just for vacation, but I want to be like active, and I went to altitude place. I used to be there when I was amateur boxer, and I had there good camp, like it's 21 day, and it's like prepared for our camp, for 8 weeks. It was good, and I'm happy I did that, did that.
Have you ever done that before, 21 days and then an 8-week camp, or is this the first time?
Yes, I did before a couple times.
Arthur, you had a lot of time out of the ring early in your career as some promotional changes were happening. Can you talk about that period of time in terms of staying focused, or what was that period of time like for you as a boxer and trying to get your career moving forward?
You know, it's difficult time. It's difficult time, but I don't want to talk about past. I think it's future more happiness, you know, and it's hard when you have court, you know, have something, you know, train, and you have to be active, and you know, it's hard, but I did that, and now I have 100% time, you know, for focus my fight for my career.
Mark, do you think he's back to being on sync? I know those layoffs aren't great for fighters. Do you think he's back on track, given the fact
For
he's gotten
sure.
some rounds recently?
And this is a very good observation. Like, we did a lot of fight, like one fight, and now a long period without fight, a long fight, and now he have a momentum for the first time from a long time. And because we're doing fight after fight, and this is what we want. This as a trainer, this is what you want to see from your fighter. You want to see your guys active, and right now I think we have a very good momentum.
Gvozdyk had 15 fights. This will be his third fight with Teddy Atlas. Sometimes a trainer change doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. Do you see differences in the way he is now in the ring as opposed to before you brought Teddy Atlas aboard? I guess that's for both.
I think it's question for them, not for us.
Oh no, I'm just saying, what do you see?
They need to much, you know. It's good for them or not, you know. I mean, for Gvozdyk, it's question for Gvozdyk.
Yeah, but is the stuff that you see, you know?
You know, I think no. Yes, maybe something changed, maybe no, you know. But it's focused for Gvozdyk, not for.
Maybe that's a question for you,
No, it's a little bit the same. I see it the same way. First of all, people, yes, when you arrive in the environment of a fighter, sometimes you change like a little bit of motivation and stuff like this, but the real change, technical change, philosophies change, have to be, it's a long process. It's not, if you change like one thing in one here with a boxer, you make an evolution. It's a long process. It's a lot of repetition in the gym. It takes longer that. And like Artur, and like I said before, like we are a lot more focused on what we're gonna do, me and him, the night of the fight, that what Gvozdyk can bring or do or not do, or with his trainer.
Mark, what was your impression of Artur's performance in the hot dog fight?
That was raw, but this is exactly what I asked him to do. Like he fought, yeah, rough and raw. Like it was very raw to me. But the thing is, that was exactly the tactic that we needed for that fight, and he executed exactly what we prepared, and I was pleased.
Mark, you're from, you have a lot of deep roots in probably one of the best fight cities in North America, Montreal. And obviously, you know, the historical boxing in Philadelphia. What's that mean to you to have a, you know, big fight here in Philadelphia?
I always enjoy it. It's not the first time that I come here. I have a good success in the past, and no, I enjoy it. Like it's a boxing history, a boxing city, long time history, and I'm just happy to be here now.
Mark, with Canelo moving up, it's probably the deepest division in boxing. How do you see the whole division shaking out after this fight?
But right now it's hard to see, because right now all my focus is on Friday night. Like we have a good fight Friday, and we have a good challenge, and we have a lot of little things to take care and make sure that we don't have our mind in another direction. Like it's actually it's very positive, because if we look in a short term and long term also, it look like it's going to be a very good division for years, and we are happy about this. But right now our focus is only for Friday night.
Obviously, the ring is its own little universe on fight night when you're in there. But you guys live in the real world, and people know that there is a certain amount of friction and conflict involving Russia and Ukraine. Doesn't have anything to do with boxing, but does that play even a little bit into, you know, like your feelings about the other guy or something, like going into the fight?
I think no, because I'm focused. I'm first of all I'm professional boxer, and I'm focused for. I go to fight unification fight, you know, for 2 belts. All my focus for that. I think so. Do you have question without box?
It's nothing politic.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
nothing.
I
Of course, no politic. I mean, without box, because it's everyday box. It's not very good.
Okay, well, here's one. You've won all your bouts, professional bouts, inside the distance. Other fighters have had long knockout streaks to begin. How important is that for you, or not? You know, for that to continue, or does it? You know, all you're looking to do is win by whatever method works best.
You asking about?
Yeah. I mean,
Important for
does it
you.
mean anything to you about your knockout streak, whether it continues or not?
It's not important. Focus, win, fight. It's knockout or not knockout. You know, it's
If you
I'm
go
not focused on
if
that.
you go only for the knockout, that means you have only one option in your head, and you
Yeah.
can't go to a boxing match like this. You have to be prepared for
Yes.
every scenario.
One of the other champions in the division is Sergey Kovalev, who's Russian as well. Is he somebody that you follow his career? Have you looked up to him? Have you had a chance to interact much with him over the last few years?
No, I don't watch. I don't watch his fights, you know. And if, for example, tomorrow I have fight with him, I will start. I will start follow him and something, watch his type of videos or something. But now, no. Now, you know, I don't have personality with another fighters. You know, it's mean I have like it's challenge for me. It's every fight. Every new fight, you know, is a challenge for me, first of all. And second, then there is another belt and something, good things.
Do you watch boxing for fun?
It's not fun. Like, I have many things
Yeah.
for watch, you know, for fun.
Mhm.
Instead of boxing. You
Yeah,
know?
'cause
Box is not funny, you know.
Because when he talks about, you know, Kovalev and they talk about the other fighters in the division, you would only focus on them if you were fighting them. You're not going to watch Kovalev's fight against Canelo. No interest.
No, of course. I think no. If you know, it's maybe you know. If I'm not asleep that time.
Maybe you're not asleep. Okay.
Last night you were talking at the Philly meet and greet. You were talking about how, as to piggyback off of her question about how boxing is it correct to say you're very good at it, but it's not your passion?
I mean, it's
Like, is it
it's
something
your job,
that you're good
it's
at,
not-
but you necessarily don't like to do?
You know, when I used to Olympic box, you know, it's amateur box, and that time I'm dreaming. My dream is to win gold medal in Olympic. You know, that time I'm like in box like for that dream. You know, it's mean no money, no nothing. You know, just now it's my job. You know, now I'm focused like it's job. Like you're a reporter or you're a reporter.
Yes.
Yeah, reporter, you know, you work and you go back home, you know, you take easy, take relax, and you know, I'm like this, you know, I try to be like this, and if you have 6 days during the week busy in boxing, and I don't want to use seventh day for box, that's it. It's very simple, I think so, you know, and
good balance.
box.
It's good balance.
There's a lot of other fighters that do, though.
Yeah, it's box. It's like
usually. Sure.
my job, you know. But I try to do my job, you know, good way, you know.
I understand.
Mark, you're with him in the gym every day. How hard does he hit? How would you gauge his power? How would you rate it?
But the best that I ever saw. but the thing is not only like one shot, it's all the shot. It's also from, you don't need like a lot of space. You can hurt you with this distance. You have that kind of explosiveness. But again, this is what the people see from in superficial, but you have a lot more to offer. And actually, it's maybe the less thing. We're still working on stuff with power, but we try to make him a more integral boxer, global boxer, more. And he's the type of guy who would like to use every single training to be better. And this is what we're doing in the gym with him.
One of the big things in boxing with some fighters is, you know, to be a 2-division, 3-division, 4-division world champion, which means going to different weight classes. I'm looking at Artur, and obviously going up, cruiserweight's 200, you know, that's 25 pounds. I think that would be a difficult thing. I don't know about going down to 168 if a big enough fight was there. Are you a light heavyweight, period? I mean, is there any chance that you might look at another division if a big enough fight was there, going up or maybe down to 168?
No, I think it's light heavyweight. It's good, but I can, you know, it's go there or there. If someone won't fight there.
Question about the gym, Mark's gym for you, Artur. You know, there was leader Alvarez there still there, John Pascal there for many years. What was that environment as a young fighter, young professional fighter, training in that gym with those champions? What was that experience like? I know you had a chance to spar with Alvarez earlier in your career, see Pascal. What was that experience like for you in terms of what you took from those other champions at 175?
No, it's. I remember this time. It's 2013 when I first time came to Montreal, and Mark tried to test me, you know, with another guys. Like one day I remember he said, you have problems tomorrow. I tell him what happened. You spar with Pascal and later. Same time, you know, it's 2 rounds with one and another one. I tell him, not me problem, not I have problem, they have problem. and it's good, you know, when you start to professional career and you start with good challenge, you know, good level. And I'm happy for I had like this experience.
I remember when.
After those 6 days of boxing, what would you like to do on the 7th day? What's your hobby?
I try to enjoy with my family, take them from cinema or something else, you know. Just be like good father or something.
And how long you've been living in Canada?
It's almost 7 years, 6, 7 years.
Artur, you've been elite level amateur and world champion at professional level. What kind of mental preparation goes into attaining so much success?
Can you repeat again?
Basically, you've been the best wherever you fought at. What kind of mental preparation goes into like fighting the best?
Mental preparation.
Мысленно как это делаешь?
You know, it's every time it's different. It's not the same every time. It's always different, and it's good. You know, I like that. Every time when you do weight or when you have fight, every time it's feelings different. And I like that. You need to control something. You know, emotional, everything. You know, there are many aspects. I like that. I like my job. You know.
Does your wife watch the box? Your kids?
Yes, sometimes.
They watch sometimes? What do they say to you after fights?
After fight?
Mm-hmm. Do they talk to you about the fight, your wife, or anything, or not at all?
No. I'm not. I don't want to talk about box at home.
Speak with Philip about
Yeah.
the manager. We can go now. We're done. Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
We don't talk about workout. Okay. Thanks for
Yeah.
doubling back on that
Yeah,
question.
he was doing, he was like that last night too. Yeah. Not really.
That's what I'm saying, like, you know, there's guys that win where like all they do is
Yeah,
hardcore boxing.
yeah.
You know, it's obviously just a job for him. I'm like, you never watch any of the fights. You only watch when it's an opponent. You know, it's like okay.
Like it's just a job.
Yeah,
Once he clocks out.
Yeah, and I don't watch. I don't pay attention. I don't see these guys fight unless I fight. I was like, okay.
I'll do that interview on that.
They don't even talk. Like a straight killer.
Straight gangster. And then the guy with the blue eyes comes in on
Yeah, well, I said.
He's totally different.
Oh,
Yeah, but this dude is
right now. I don't even like interviewing because he just, I just want to see him. I just love him.
Well, that's what it was
He's
last
not very
week too.
confident. That's why we-
So, Alexander, what was Camp Atlas like in Philadelphia?
It's always good with steady. Always challenging.
Teddy, what were your thoughts on the training camp? Were you satisfied?
Very. Couldn't be better. Got to where we want to be. Now, of course, you got to go in there, obviously Friday night and execute. But everything is in place. Couldn't ask for more.
Teddy, what was the thinking on your end in moving this camp about 3,000 miles east?
First of all, wouldn't have to acclimate to the time difference. Would be on the same time zone. Being that the weather was going to still be good, there was no problem with training here on the East Coast. Sometimes you got to worry about, bad weather with training on the East Coast. So we didn't have to worry about that. The time was good, and not having to get on a plane to go across the country on the Sunday before the fight is always a nice thing. That's pretty nice. And just, to be comfortable in your place and stay there right up to the fight. And then I'm going to be very careful with this word, but it's a word that Alex used sometimes, but because we're very fortunate, we're very blessed to have these privileges and to have these opportunities to do what we do. But it's not the worst thing to suffer a little bit, to just remind yourself, and we're not suffering compared to what real suffering is. We understand that. I understand that completely. But just to be reminded that he's away from his family, he's got a beautiful family and a young family, and just to be reminded that why are we away from the family?
Right now, there are 4 alphabet light heavyweight champions, and barring a draw on Friday night, there'll be 3. How important to you is the idea of fully unifying the title? How difficult will it be because of, of the drawbacks at making those sort of fights? And the other thing is that will you feel like you are the one true king of the light heavyweights if you win the bout by virtue of those 2 belts and the other guys only have 1?
First of all, my dream is to become undisputed champion. This is the first step, and this is a necessary step. And the second thing is that this is what fans like to see. They want to see our, champions to fight some, some opponents or journeymen. This is the tough fights which fans like to see. And for me, it's a big challenge. Yes. What's the second part of the question?
Obviously, you want to fully unify, but there are obstacles that sometimes
if I feel like a person A, like I feel it inside, but it's not proven yet, and we're doing the step to prove it.
Teddy, was it a good experience? I know it's different style and different stance, but was it a good experience having faced a puncher in Stevenson?
It's never a good experience facing a puncher. Let's get that very clear.
But you know what I'm saying, going through the fact that you had a camp against.
Well, it's the same premise, yes. No, I appreciate your question. Listen, and in the way to answer that, in the way that it's directed, is that it's just, again, a reminder that there's no room for mistakes. That there's gotta be full concentration for 36 minutes. Full concentration, and you have to fight one round at a time. 1 3-minute round at a time, not 3 minutes and, 59 seconds. No, not when you're in there with a puncher that can change everything in a moment with one punch, as Stevenson almost did in the 10th round. But his character, the reason why he's a champion is because he was able to handle that and able to survive that. That's why he's a champion. I mean, you could look at all the other rounds and say he's a champion because of this, he's a champion because of that. He gave angles, he used his jab, he punched at the right time, but he's a champion because when the moment came, he behaved like a champion. And I have no doubt that whenever that moment comes, he'll do the same thing, but I'm just hoping that that particular kind of moment doesn't come, because we've trained to be very aware, as we did for the Stevenson fight, that there is no margin for error. There's no margin for lapsing or drifting for a split second. Not when you're in with a guy that can punch with the right hand, the way Beterbiev can punch with that single punch. And so again, it's never comfortable to be facing a puncher, but at least we know we've done it and we know what it takes.
Does facing him in the amateurs help the preparation going forward to this fight?
No, it didn't really help for this preparation. And again, like a lot of people asking me this question, like about our fight. It was 10 years ago. It was amateur, and I'm kind of like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm making an excuse. So 10 years ago, he was just better. Period. And right now, it's different times, different sport.
Teddy, during the Stevenson fight, you had talked about to Oleksandr, we are piranhas, we're taking small bites, given the fact that you had to kind of chip away at Stevenson, you felt, with his power. Does the same philosophy, in your view, or a similar philosophy hold in this fight with Beterbiev?
Yes and no, to be honest. If there's moments to take bigger bites in this fight, we're going to take them. At whatever time that is. If it's early, it's early. If it's late, it's late. If it's middle, it's middle. He's got great judgment and instincts, and we put that in place, and I know that we can depend on that judgment and that instincts when it's time to take a bite, small or big. We never want to get greedy. Mm-hmm. You never want to get greedy, especially with a puncher. Right. But I think this fight's a little different than maybe some people envision it. It's not going to be exactly the same as the Stevenson fight. Mm-hmm. Because we have a guy that there's going to have to be moments. Put it this way, there's going to have to be moments to take bigger bites with this guy, if you can understand what I'm saying. And that doesn't mean getting sloppy or careless or greedy, but it means what it means.
So Teddy, you think that a couple times, like Beterbiev to me,
but the bite's in the right place, not standing on the sidewalk. Right. Eating a hot dog.
Right, but would you say that Beterbiev, in a lot of ways, is a guy that loves to come downhill one direction, that if you back him up and put him on his heels, that he's not the bully that he likes to be?
Maybe I could get you in the corner to
you don't want that.
Maybe on Friday night. But we have a plan, and Alex has worked so hard to institute that plan, to practice that plan, to be prepared to go forward with that plan, and he will. I have absolute, and again, part of what makes him special is that he's able to think properly under pressure where other people don't always think properly. Mm-hmm. It's hard to think properly for some people, period. But I know I have trouble sometimes. But to think properly under that kind of situation and that kind of pressure, that kind of duress, he does a real good job at it, and he will again on Friday night.
I had asked Artur this question, and I'll ask you too, because legacy could mean being a champion and in the same weight class for a lot of defenses, as Hopkins did at middleweight and other fighters have done. For some people, it's being multi-division champions, moving up when you're a light heavyweight, the next step up, cruiserweight, that's 25 pounds. I'm looking at you, and that's hard to imagine. Maybe there's a big fight there. Maybe there's a big fight at 168. I don't know if it would be how difficult or not it'd be to come down. But Artur said, no, I'm a light heavyweight, period. From your perspective, if there was something huge at either cruiser or super middle, or just your body telling you that you're a light heavyweight and that's where you need to be?
You know, like again, for right now, only one challenge and one opponent exists, and for me, I'm not even thinking about any other opportunities. But everything's possible in future. Maybe go up or even go down. You know, I think it's possible. Maybe hard, but possible. But again, right now, I'm not even thinking about it. You know, like we're looking too far.
Alexander, there's a lot of good trainers out in Southern California where you're based. You've seen Teddy Atlas, I'm sure, rant and rave on TV before. Respectfully, he does a very good job of it. What was it about Teddy that said, this is my match, this is a fit for me?
Teddy is very picky, very particular, and this is what you need. You know, sometimes you cannot evaluate right yourself. Sometimes you think you're too tired, sometimes you think you want to work more. They didn't know exactly what we're supposed to do, and there's no place for argument. And I think, first of all, he's a good person, because when I met him, I realized that. And like I told a lot of times before, this type of person already under extinction, and probably even not existing anymore. But from his professional qualities, beside his qualities of human being, he's very smart. He's over 40 years in this business, and he never loses any small details, which is really important at this time, because we already know all the basics. You know, everybody knows the basics, but all the small details, sometimes, you know, you think, okay, I'm already too good, and maybe somebody can forgive me some mistakes. And Teddy always on top of it and never let it drift. And again, you know, it's always a conversation, but he's kind of like a dictator, smart dictator. And this is good. This is, I think, what I need at this point of my career.
Teddy, three training camps now, about a year since working with him. Where have you seen the biggest strides or the biggest improvement in him from the first camp to this camp now? Because it's hard in just a year to make big changes, understandably, but where have you seen the most improvement since you've started working with him?
Getting hit less. I think that's a good place to start. Getting hit with, you know, hopefully with clean punches, big punches less. But I think maybe if there's one area, a more definitive identity. You know, he's a fighter, and he was always a fighter. He's a bronze medalist that should have been at least a silver medalist, but we won't go into the corruption of AIBA right now. Because I happen to be over there calling the fights for NBC, and I also watched the fight afterwards, and I mean, he won every round, so he should have been at least to the next round. But so obviously this is a kid who knows how to fight and behaves like a fighter, lives like a fighter, acts like a fighter. But there were times when I looked at him where the definitive identity that I think is important for a fighter at this level wasn't always completely there. It was like he knew how to behave like a fighter all the time, but it was always like pressure to be going forward, just throwing punches. That he had to be busy, that he had to. And one of the first things I told him, I remember when I said it to him, the best punch that you can throw sometimes is the one you don't throw. And that was a change of philosophy and thinking, obviously, from, you know, a little bit from where he came from. And again, his attitude was almost a pressure on him, where if I'm not busy all the time doing something, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's not always true. You know, and I joke with him sometimes. I said, listen to that song by Kenny Rogers. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And it's no different in our business and in life, quite frankly, in many things. And so I think that my main focus and responsibility was to find that definitive identity for him, where not 1 minute he's Jake LaMotta and the next minute he's, you know, Pernell Whitaker, where he's what he needs to be in a consistent way, and he feels good about it, and he knows that that's the right identity for him, and to match up with him physically. I mean, if no one's noticed, besides that he's a very good person and a gentleman and behaved and a good-looking person, besides that, he's tall and he's got pretty good length. So I think those things should be taken into account when you're forming somebody's identity in the ring. And so for me, that was my responsibility.
If I could ask you just a question. You've been with Oleksandr many years now, and you've seen the transition working with Teddy. You've seen his growth as a professional. From your perspective, what have you seen in terms of Oleksandr in the last year since he's been with Teddy?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be at this camp. So I was in California, and they choose to be here in Philly, but.
Not because we want to be away from him. Don't anybody read that into it.
Sorry everybody, but my Ukraine and Russian much better. Александр, тем более Дэви Аркадьев, и сейчас эту прямую трансляцию смотрят многие украинцы, и в том числе первый тренер братьев Кличко Володя Золотарев. Он передает свои добрые пожелания. И хочу вам сказать, что ваш соперник обладает чувством юмора. Я вчера сказал ему в одном из ваших недавних интервью, в котором вы сказали, что Beterbiev бьет рукой, словно копытом. Он улыбнулся и сказал, наверное, он меня задабривает. Так что, да, и пожелания вам. Вы родились, я не сомневаюсь, что знаете, что Харьков – это город с великими боксерскими традициями. И первая сборная Украины 1933 года готовилась в этом городе к первому чемпионату СССР. И капитаном этой сборной и одним из тренеров был мой отец Аркадий Бакман. Первый призер тенниса Советского Союза. Вам искреннее пожелание. Помогай вам Бог и моральная поддержка, я верю, ваших друзей, великих украинских боксеров, как и вы, Василия Ломаченко и Александра Усика.
Спасибо, они будут здесь, кстати.
Спасибо вам. Thank you and sorry.
No, it was just
Okay. So,
good
to answer your question, I didn't see many changes. I don't think in the ring we need to see changes probably. In a life he's still the same.
Tell me, what's the best way of neutralizing a big punch?
Not get him. Not get him.
Don't get hit.
Avoid him.
That's the best way. The best way, I would say, I would think most people would agree, don't get hit. Obviously, be alert and obviously have a good defense and, know where the danger lies. That's a big part of it. Where does the danger lie and what situations does it lie? Does it lie when he times you with a punch or when he's pressing with a punch? So I think that obviously that would be a big part of it.
Did you count how many times Stevenson hit him very flush?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Only once?
Well, he hit him in the second round. He caught him, but he saw that punch.
Okay.
And he's got a good chin and a good will, and as I said before, the fighter's disposition to avoid going to a bad place when you get hit with a good punch. he has that makeup. But in the 10th round, it was the one that you're always concerned about, the one you don't see, where he timed him. And that was the one that hurt him. But again, he survived it because of who he is.
His performance in his last fight in Philly.
I thought that we fought an awkward opponent, and I thought he was getting, quite frankly, into his rhythm when the fight got stopped. It was just, he never got a chance to really get into his rhythm. I don't think it was one of his best performances. It wasn't one of my best performances, because I'm responsible for that. But I think that it was a kind of fight that you needed time to get into it, and he was getting into that place where he was starting to take control of the fight and going to get only better with a very awkward opponent. And unfortunately it ended the way that, didn't satisfy us or anybody.
Teddy, since you came back with Alexander, obviously you worked with Tim Bradley. Now, this being a big unification fight, a lot of people talking about in the boxing business, does this get your juices flowing a little bit extra, being that's a unification bout?
Getting up in the morning gets my juices flowing. I mean, to see my family gets my juices flowing. To know that I'm blessed to have a great, beautiful wife and children, and that I'm blessed to be around a person like him and have him part of my life. That having opportunities to do things that are good things and special things like this, opportunities to do those things, and granted those opportunities, given the trust of those opportunities, it gets your juices flowing, but you feel it. You feel the responsibility of it too. And you feel it every day, that you don't want to fail that trust that people give you. And that I feel the moment I commit to training him, that, okay, if I'm committing to this, then I have to come through on my part. I ask him to do things, and I ask him for complete, unequivocal trust and commitment. I have to be able to live up to that. And if you want to call it your juices flowing, or you just want to call it feeling something over you, you definitely feel it.
Alexander, obviously there are some very good trainers, great trainers, renowned trainers who work with 8, 10, 12 different fighters. And there's only so much time they can devote to any one of them, particularly if they've got a couple of guys getting ready for a fight around the same time. Teddy has never been one of those guys. He has to have a special bond, almost familial. The fact that you are the only guy that he works with, and that was going to have to be something that you both felt. How much does that mean? And that you were the chosen one to bring him back into the fold and do what he was born to do.
I really appreciate that, and this is what makes Teddy special. I know the trainers, I can understand, like, one trainer, like you said, have a training camp with one fighter in one country, and another fighter who he trained for is training by himself somewhere else. I think it's not right, and Teddy would never do that. And again, for me, I feel like I'm special right now for Teddy, and I really appreciate it. And again, it's a blessing when I met him first time, and eventually he told me yes, because Teddy, it's not some regular average trainer. He's a legend, and I know that a lot of guys would be happy to work with him, and the thing he picked me really means for me a lot.
One more, guys.
Teddy, a lot of the Ukrainian fighters, Lomachenko, Gvozdyk, Gvozdyk, have very good movement. From your perspective, what's the difference between purposeful footwork and overmoving?
Just what you said, you're either over-moving or you're purposeful. You just said it, you couldn't say it more definitively or
Well, Steve and I don't know what the
more
code is.
accurately.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Cut. Cut.
I mean, it's no different than aggressive or effective aggression. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And that's exactly the answer. I think that if you're gonna give an accurate answer or proper answer, it's movement for a reason, not just for the reason of movement. You know, it's movement to get somewhere that's the right place to get, and somewhere where you can avoid a punch and where you can score a punch, or you can keep it more balanced and set up something for later. But it's movement with a plan. It's movement with an idea of why you're moving. Not, you know, it's a good point you bring that up. It's funny. I said to Alex one day, early on when we first started before the Stevenson fight, and I remember, I don't know if he probably does remember. He remembers everything. And I remember I said to him one day, why'd you come forward? Why'd you just move forward? And it was probably a thing you know, nobody ever questioned him on. Why'd you just come forward? He was shadowboxing or whatever. If there's a reason to come forward, go ahead. I'm with you. But why'd you just come forward? I didn't see a reason. For what? Just because it just took you over, right? I mean, think about it. Sometimes we just do things because we have nothing better to do. We just do. And in the ring, you can't do that. There has to be a reason why you're doing something. You can't just be coming forward with a jab just to come forward. You have to make sure that guy's not ready to hit you with a right hand. So I think that's exactly what movement is, and proper movement is, knowing why.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna move that to the middle.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's gonna be out all day.
Oh, you're talking about.
I'm gonna be at the weigh until like the first, like a paint I'm gonna edit all this up later. Y'all still there? I'm gonna edit all this up later. No, they ain't have to work out.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta go on there.
The same guy.
Friday fight night. Second all, it's still like, oh, it's way closer than normal.
Yeah, I love it. And I love
tomorrow, I'm going to be working on my interviews. I mean, if I can get something now, I will. So I'm guessing that's what they waiting for. But some of them are on time. Just the way. But yeah, we're gonna fight with stream probably in a few hours. I'm gonna say probably after I'm home for a couple hours. There's a fight with stream and we're going ASMR. Alright guys, so I'm gonna end to see you all.